Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. Today, we are diving into a really interesting discussion that's happening in Saudi Arabia,
Oh, yeah,
specifically about foreign workers. And
absolutely.
we've got some sources that give us a pretty clear picture of the economic and social anxieties that are,
Mm-hmm.
swirling around this whole issue.
Yeah, and what I find fascinating is how this debate, it kind of goes beyond to the economics, you
All
know?
right.
It really taps into these deeper concerns about national identity
Yeah,
and Saudi Arabia's future in this, increasingly globalized world.
for sure, for sure. So let's jump right in. Our sources highlight this
Yeah,
pretty stark economic reality. Okay, so Saudi Arabia, they generate revenue from foreign workers, right?
right.
But then a much larger sum of money
Yeah,
is flowing out of the country
right.
through the remittances that these workers are sending back home.
And the numbers are pretty significant. I mean, we're talking about 15 billion Saudi riyals coming in,
Wow.
but a staggering 250 billion leaving the country.
That is a huge amount.
It's a massive amount. I mean, think about it, 250 billion riyals that could be circulating within Saudi Arabia. That could be funding new businesses, infrastructure projects, social
I mean,
programs.
I read somewhere that that outflow could cover like the entire annual budget of a small country.
Exactly.
So it's no wonder that this issue is generating so much discussion and debate.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about the money either, right? I
Right.
mean, there are also concerns about job competition
Oh, yeah, for sure.
from Saudi citizens and foreign workers.
Yeah.
Our sources indicate that many Saudis feel like these foreign workers are direct competitors for jobs
Hmm.
and that it's putting them at a disadvantage. And
Yeah.
this sense of economic vulnerability, I think that's amplified by, concerns about unemployment in general.
Right.
And what are the long-term prospects for Saudi citizens in the workforce?
Well, and one of our sources even shares this anecdote about a specific workplace
Oh, really?
where tensions just flared up
Wow.
between Saudi and foreign workers. And it really brings this whole issue to life.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
shows how these anxieties can actually manifest in everyday situations.
Yeah, yeah. It's a reminder that these aren't just, abstract economic
Yeah,
arguments. These have real world consequences
right.
and they impact people's lives directly. And this brings us to another layer of this whole debate,
Right.
which is this idea of what our source calls a foreign cartel.
A foreign cartel, that sounds a little ominous. What does that even mean?
Yeah, so the source uses this term to describe a pattern that they've observed where foreign managers they tend to prioritize hiring workers from their own countries.
Okay,
So, if you have a project manager who's from, say, South Africa, they might be more inclined to hire other South Africans,
gotcha.
and it creates this kind of closed system that can be difficult for Saudis to break into.
So imagine you're like a qualified Saudi engineer,
Right.
and you're trying to find a job,
Exactly.
but you're in a sector that's dominated by, this network of South African project
Yeah,
managers.
you're kind of stuck.
It just highlights the potential for these imbalances and limited opportunities.
It does, and it raises some pretty important questions too, like could this system, if it exists, lead to, a concentration of economic power in the hands of specific foreign groups?
Mm-hmm.
Could it stifle opportunities for Saudi workers and entrepreneurs?
For sure.
These are complex issues that deserve careful consideration.
And then there's this, even deeper, more emotional layer to all of this, right? I mean, the sources talk about this sense of unease,
Yes,
almost a feeling of losing control over the country's, economic destiny.
I understand that.
It's as if this reliance on foreign labor is eroding something fundamental about
Right.
Saudi Arabia's identity.
That's a key point. We're seeing this connection between economic anxieties and a broader sense of national identity.
Right.
It's not just about jobs and money. It's about who controls Saudi Arabia's resources, its future direction, its place in the world.
Yeah. And it's interesting that even the Ministry of Human Resources and Social Development is being scrutinized in this whole context.
Oh, really?
Yeah, our source points out that the minister is a naturalized citizen.
Okay.
And there seems to be some skepticism directed at the ministry
Right.
because of that fact.
Well, this is significant because it shows how these anxieties can sometimes be channeled towards specific individuals or policies.
Mhm.
It becomes a lightning rod for broader concerns about national identity and control.
So after this deep dive, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's clear that there are legitimate economic concerns at play here,
Mhm.
but these concerns are intertwined with deeper anxieties about national identity and sovereignty in a rapidly changing world.
Absolutely.
And what's particularly interesting is that we're seeing similar debates unfold in countries all over the globe.
It really is a global phenomenon with very local implications.
It is.
And it'll be fascinating to see how Saudi Arabia navigates these complex issues and
Yeah,
what impact they have on the country's future.
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Sounds good.